Thanks for the opportunity to talk about a topic of which I'm very passionate about. I just need to give credit to the YES project, an international collaboration between us, Namibia, Mozambique and Germany. And they've been supporting the work we've been doing over the past 4 years. I quickly want to give some personal context to what we've been doing since 2017. The Tanks coding project started in 2017 as an honours project for Byron Patterson, and the objectives were to exclude expensive equipment, obviously including computers, introduce coding concepts, introduce computational logic exercises, promote software careers, apply sound pedagogical principles, and obviously the kids must have fun. The basic mechanism of the game is that learners are given a challenge on the screen of their device. They pack out some code using physical tokens. Through image recognition, this code is internalized and then executed on the screen, moving a tank to a destination. With Tanks, we've reached over 20,000 learners in practical workshops. We've presented some coding tournaments. We found that it's quite easy to train the trainer, whether it's a teacher or a facilitator, and they then go and start coding clubs in their schools or communities, or introduce Tanks in technology subjects. And our basic motto is expanding the career horizons of learners. During lockdown last year, we started with the BOATS virtual coding tournaments, where learners could play from home. The app BOATS has a further environmental theme for marine pollution and renewable energy. We've had over 1,000 learners participate from nearly 400 schools. Our basic products to empower schools to start their own coding clubs or introduce coding in their curriculum are lesson plans or the school coding kits for Tanks as well as for BOATS. BOATS is from grade R to 3, Tanks from grade 4 upwards. In February, we presented 4 online Zoom workshops with the theme of Coding Unplugged. The presenters were Kelly Bush, a teacher from Hudson Park Primary, Selby Makula from Good Work Foundation in Hazyview, Leander Oosthuizen, an IT teacher at Alexander Road, and Keith Gibson, who's been a legend in computer training at schools since the 80s. These workshops were recorded and are available online. I can make the links available afterwards. These online workshops were so popular that we decided to run with physical workshops in 10 cities across South Africa and Namibia, and we had over 200 attendants. In these workshops, the teachers and other educationists were introduced to a wide range of unplugged coding activities, starting with a basic game of hopscotch up to complex loops using unplugged coding. When we talk about coding and robotics in schools, I just want to emphasize some realities that we need to deal with. Software development is definitely one of the scarcest skills in South Africa. And if we do not do something, millions of learners will be unaware of these career choices. This is a list of skills identified for the fourth industrial revolution. And you will notice that the vast majority of these skills are directly linked to coding and robotics activities. There's a grave concern regarding the school readiness to implement coding and robotics. Of the 25,000 schools in our country, the last I heard, there were 16,000 who do not have laboratories. The vast majority of teachers are not trained to offer coding and robotics. And then even if schools do have laboratories, most of them don't have adequate technical staff to maintain those laboratories. I think we are all aware of dysfunctional laboratories all across our country. In my travels across the country to the remotest areas, this is a real reality. The fear of missing out Learners, parents, teachers, headmasters watch the news, read the newspapers, are aware of the fourth industrial revolution, but when they look around them and their circumstances and resources, they are very anxious that they will be missing out. The traditional kids coding tools that are often referred to are excellent for those who have the resources to use them. But a Lego Mindstorms robot could cost 7,000 Rand, where the latest Scratch needs a connected laboratory. This excludes the vast majority of schools if we only focus on these kind of tools. For careers like software development or engineering, etc., it is a grave concern that there's a decreasing number of matriculants that get a good maths qualification at the moment. So we need to urgently ask ourselves, how can coding and robotics help in addressing this problem? The reality is that coding and robotics will happen in our schools. So we don't have the choice of saying no, but we do have some options. And regarding these options, I would like to make some suggestions. Very important for me, any implementation of coding and robotics in schools cannot be dependent on computer labs. If we do go that route, we will simply widen the digital divide. This is critical for us to understand. I believe it will be a huge mistake to lengthen the school days. Our teachers and our learners are under pressure, and we cannot afford to make a day an hour or two longer. Looking at the current draft curricula, I would say get rid of some content. We do not need to teach all of what is currently in the curricula. Please keep it fun. If I had my way, I wouldn't even have assessment. The learners need to enjoy coding and robotics and to lay a foundation for them to want to do it one day. Coming back to the problem of a decreasing number of matrics that have maths, I would strongly suggest that any coding and robotics in schools must have a huge emphasis on computational thinking, activities that teach learners to solve problems, simply that, and this does not need computers. There are literally thousands of unplugged coding activities available on the internet. Make those available to teachers and use unplugged coding as much as possible to introduce coding and robotics at school. I mentioned Keith Gibson earlier in my presentation, and I would really recommend that you watch the recorded workshop he presented in February. He is at Collegiate, one of the most resourceful schools in Port Elizabeth, but for the whole year he taught coding and problem solving using pen and paper exercises. So because of COVID, but also at the end out of principle, the learners were not taken into the lab. This is the well-known fox, farmer and chicken example, and it goes into great length in discussing how this little example helps learners to solve problems. But obviously there are many other similar examples that can be used. I would like to end off with two quotes from teachers that attended our workshop. The first one reads, "If possible, if the National Office will buy into this idea of unplugged coding to present coding and robotics to our learners, we will make teachers more positive for the new subject and boost their morale. Learners learn faster if they can play and have fun." The second quote kind of summarizes my general theme that says we need to take teachers from anxiety to hope. Thanks for new innovative ideas and ways to get coding to be fun and making this a reality to the less fortunate, as this sparks a passion in their lives. The learners at my school, their eyes lit up as I speak about coding and robotics, and I see their future to be bright with successful opportunities and growth. You're welcome to contact me afterwards on my email.